Cheers, mix, click, and code with Boozy browsing, sipping and fixing the web one cocktail at a time.
Hello, Matt's back.
I'm here. And this week we're gonna both have internet, right?
Yep.
We'll guaranteed.
Yes.
We'll see.
I moved my location so I'll be closer to my internet, hence the game room.
As long as one of those things behind you don't come alive and kill you. We will see.
Hey, these are custom made.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Anyways, so let's start with the drinks first. I actually I bought this for last episode, but it got delivered while I was in the podcast. So I didn't get to drink it. But I don't think I'll drink it today because it's a sake. You see it? Are they?
Come on. There we go. What is that?
It's like it's a cup sake, and I bought it because when I moved here, it's like, oh, maybe I wanted something like more carnival-ish. But for some reason, I couldn't get any clown years from here in Florida because I was from other states. I think it was like Illinois. So I was like, all right, I gave up. So I bought this, but I don't know. So I got a little scared. So I ended up with the ones I always drink. So I actually bought Sauvignon Blanc. Usually, and I found out while I was looking at the site that they have a low calorie version. So I might try these if I can find them. Because usually they're less sweet, which is what I like. Because I still feel like their wine's too sweet. So I'm drinking this, the little Sauvignon Blanc by Chile. And I poured it to my ginormous glasses.
Nice.
So that's my drink for today.
Correct sized drink.
Yep.
All right. Well, I am going with a beer. They don't have individual pages on their site for the beers, but so here's the company. Here's the beer. It's Moondor. It's the brewery. They're here. They're in Colorado. Dunkel. Should be dark, a little darker. They got a little description down here. And then they link off.
Is that
like bigger descriptions?
Yeah.
So I've had kegs of this, not all by myself, but kind of that big of a problem. But with friends and stuff. So I like it a lot. So I wanted to go with something safe. I'm not gonna like spit up all over.
Yeah. I wanted something safe as well because I'll be traveling at 4 a.m. tomorrow. So hence I couldn't do the sake. This is for next time.
Yeah, you're off to WordCamp US. This will be long and published by the time you get back, and whatever drama comes of the presentations will be over by then, right?
Yeah.
Like drama from last year isn't even over yet.
That's true.
I mean, we didn't even have that like transition, but to transition to what we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about WordPress enterprise hosting.
Yeah. That's better.
Maybe some drama will come out of like, we'll be talking about one of these places and maybe they get banned or something. Did I drink like 5 beers already or just one sip?
I don't know.
So we're going to talk about some hosting options. So you just build it yourself, right? You just do it in your basement.
What?
Just do it in your basement, put up your WordPress site and you'll be fine. It's the solution we're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about enterprise hosting.
Oh, right. Not what everyone thinks WordPress does.
Mm-hmm.
So. Okay. All right. So we gotta probably describe enterprise to people, at least what we feel like enterprise is, maybe. Right? So enterprise means a lot of things. Like enterprise to some people and in corporate speak is like the back office enterprise application tiers and stuff like that. But we're talking about just size, like website size, content, number of publishers, like millions or more a month type thing.
Page view.
Really, potentially millions a day, or a million plus a day. It's really where we're truly talking for enterprise.
Yeah. So a lot of times that for the website level, enterprise can be, we kind of measure it by page per view per day, per month, more than how big the company size is. Because you might have a big company size, but your website not be having that heavy traffic. So in that
Yeah.
case, it's not really considered enterprise website because you don't need all the things that you need for a hosting side to handle that traffic. Because if you don't need it,
Yeah. So we're talking more on the side of traffic, and users, maybe features and functionality along with.
there's and creators and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, they're gonna have to have some kind of all the basic stuff around security and uptime, performance tuning. So what's a myth that I'd say like something like just big servers. Just put big stuff behind it, and then you're enterprise and you're fine. It's like any like or that anyone can do it with big enough servers. Like you just got a not my nephew personally, but like someone saying this, like, oh, my nephew is a computer science major. He can do server development, right? Like, come on, like, we're way beyond that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop building things from scratch. I would say not building, but like trying to architect a web server from
Hmm.
scratch at this point.
Yeah. And also, it's sometimes computer science might be a different skill set to manage the network and scalability and all the things involved in hosting.
Yeah, it's like when I've told people in the past I build websites. Oh, can you help me with this Mac application problem? I'm like, I use a computer. You don't, I don't know how to fix a computer.
It's funny that I had that experience too because I was a software developer when I started, and I think my roommate she was asking for her Dell computer. She was asking for the tech support for me, and I'm like, I don't do hardware here, and this is specifically for your company. And it's like she was in one of those companies with one of those like a big companies with a lot of other security measures. She doesn't have an admin access to our laptop. And I'm like, there's not much I can do here. You should go to your IT department.
Yeah.
But that's a misconception. Different misconception, but kind of leading
Yep.
into this too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if we talk about like some things to look for, right? Like in a host. Like I think we can be generic first. Like let's talk about the things you could look at, and then we could talk about like what the larger hosts are.
Okay.
Uh, maybe.
Yeah. Start with the small scale and then kind of expand on it. So if you are hosting a website, what would you need to look for? Obviously, you want the trusted managed hosting if you're not going to be
Yeah.
using the dedicated server that you're going to go in and do the maintenance, like security maintenance and all the updates and all that. You probably want to go with a managed server that handles it for you, and you can
Right.
find it for pretty cheap if you're not a website. If you're not hosting a website that's high traffic.
Yeah. This is like the next step up from why would we why would you use someone to configure your web server? Well, why also would you like configure at this level of, oh, I want a WordPress site or Drupal or any other like any platform, right? Like why would I build that out when there's managed services, managed hosts that will do that level for you? Like they'll tune it potentially properly. Because that would be kind of the next other level is like making sure that they're doing it correctly. They're going to be doing it for you because you don't have a lot of options to change it a lot of times. Because that's why you're stepping away from doing that because you won't expect someone else to do it perfectly. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they have to have some kind of like if we're talking about like basic level, like you should have the ability to create. I don't know. I have a hard time like enterprise for the most like I don't know like the low level of like managed service. Like a lot of these hosts do that and then they still let you like update plugins on the live server. Like
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. So you're I'm in that same boat that I'm so used to managed server that have some restrictions to make sure the production server is not touched with all the things like that because you're opening up a vulnerability for that. But surprisingly, a lot of managed hosting still does it, thinking that it's a flexibility, but that's also a security hole hole that you can actually get into.
Yeah, and it's such a like, all you have to do is share, like, if someone gets access to an account, then they have it. Like, it's as simple as that, and then they have full access to your server. Like, why would you? Well, again, it's ease of kind of use and management if you're going to be managing it yourself, and you don't have all the DevOps, what we call DevOps or WebOps kind of process as a developer. Um, so I can get it, but still, like, come on, have other environments that are locked down, or so the production environment can be locked down, and then you could do all your playground stuff in another environment. Um, and that's where, like, most of these places can do enterprise hosting, but then I think this is also where WordPress gets like they're not secure or things like, not from the hosts themselves, but because of this use case of being able to update plugins on a live environment, and then hosts allow it potentially because people expect it. It's kind of a cyclical cycle of, well, then therefore it's not secure and therefore it can never be secure. Versus, well, no, you just turn that off and don't do that, and then you're potentially okay. Like, the amount of actual security issues on a normal WordPress site that's actually even decently managed. Like, there's obviously alerts that you should update your plugin or update core sometimes every once in a while that there was a security vulnerability, but that's pretty rare. Like, months and months go by, maybe even a year, especially with core, like that would actually happen. So otherwise, like, it's just people leaving their sites vulnerable.
I think it's not even for enterprise. I think if you are a business of decent size, like even you don't consider yourself enterprise, I still feel like there should be a gate that a production environment you shouldn't update like that on the fly. A lot of those things, because WordPress is known for, it's like 43% of the whole space, meaning that there's different levels of very small business, self-serving, self-managing. All those people probably don't have enough technical knowledge, so they probably need those kind of automatic updates set up so that they don't have to worry about it. That case, sure, it makes sense, but you once you're a business, once you're in a decent sized business to enterprise level, you want to have a team that's making sure that your site is secure and is properly managed. In that case, you don't necessarily want this automatic update hitting your server, like especially the production server like that. So I know why they put it in, and then also sometimes it's a selling point for a lot of customers that they're targeting, depending on who you're targeting. But that shouldn't really be a common practice, especially for the business or enterprise level sites.
So we talked about like some security stuff, but
Hmm.
there's also a layer that most of these hosts either do or should provide some layer of security on the penetration side of things, where people can, they should be blocking it before they're getting to the physical servers in the first, or physical kind of request and response anyways, right? This is a CDN typically, like the CDNs can do it, or you put other layers in between. um, but this is pretty standard at this point, but I don't know that all of them do it well.
Yeah.
Like, because, and there's a good reason, because it is something that has to be kind of configured and actually sometimes. So a lot of these websites, if you're an editor or entering content, that gets flagged very quickly. So then you get blocked. So for a host to then have to deal with requests of opening things up, I think that would be kind of cost prohibitive for most of their support tiers. I think. I don't work that closely with a lot of that, but uh, but if you're dealing with an agency that's going to be supporting you, and they have control over the firewall, CDN, both, whatever it is, or your dev team, they're going to be able to do, like, set it up properly so that those things can be in place and then lightened up on an as needed basis, versus the opposite, where, well, we don't want to handle all the support tickets, so let's just keep it open. And you just wait for a security vulnerability and your site goes, starts displaying all kinds of random links to things that people shouldn't be seeing if they're not of age, say. And we have on our list to talk about workflow support. Like in the enterprise space, I feel like most of them, especially now, have this ability, like built in, or at least they're open enough, right? And this would be, like, for someone that doesn't know what we just talked about, like this is the ability for developers to then deploy code, to test certain features and functionality in other environments, to have a repository where there's changes and then they can look at the logs.
What are the signs that that they need to start thinking about scaling to actually move the hosting to something that can support your business scaling up? I think that some of the things that we kind of lead into briefly mention about the security is one thing. Performance and scalability is probably one of the biggest things that you want to consider, because now that you have to handle better traffic better. You have to make sure that during the traffic spikes, your site doesn't stagger or go down or anything like that. So those kind of things, you need to have some mechanism that are in place, that there are people who are used to it, how to manage it, handle those sections. So one of the things I think that you want to make sure is caching layer. But caching can be one of those things that they say it's done, but if it's not implemented correctly, it can be more of a bottleneck than actually helping you sometimes. Yeah. So like some of the examples can be like, if you have a multiple layers of caching, but you don't have a proper way to flush the cache out whenever you update the content, things get stuck in different layers. And then you have to manually go and keep flushing it until you find out where it's stuck. But there is better benefits on that, because like caching, page caching, and then an object caching. And I think, do you want to kind of talk about like why caching helps? Because there's caching is such a word that it's commonly used, but I don't know if people actually know why it's needed, or what's a good way to actually put it in, and what different layers of caching there are in most of the enterprise level websites.
Think of it like in a simplistic way. This would be if you were going to get lunch and you went to a store and you had to pick up your bread, your lettuce, your meat, your mayo, your mustard, and then go put it together, right? Think of that as uncached. Or you go to the pre-made section and you grab your sandwich and you go. It's cached. I mean, that's a way of doing cache. Or you hit it delivered. I mean, because that's a layer of caching where it would actually send it to a place that's even closer to you.
Yeah.
Like you can get it delivered from Grubhub and then it's at your door, right? That would be like one way of putting cache in a real person's, so instead of like putting it all together. And that's what a website will do. It has to pull all the data together, put it in one place, and then even present it, and then get it all the way from California to New York, or from Virginia to something, all across the world, versus, oh, I just ordered it locally and they did all the things. It's just done. Now, as a user, you don't see any of that happening anyway, so it's kind of a weird thing, but the timing is the you're saving.
That's actually a very interesting way to look at it. I never really think of it that way. But yeah, so like there's different layers.
And then, you talked about like clearing in the right way, right? Well, I wanted turkey on my sandwich. So I picked up another sandwich from the front. Well, there's still, and I told them to do all turkey instead of roast beef. Well, I grab it and it's still turkey. And every time I grab it, it's turkey. So then they go to the next layer of things of when they're the person putting it together and it's, hey, you need to make some turkey stuff. But if they didn't do it in the right order, then I'm just going to get another roast beef sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
Why did I get that when I asked for turkey?
Yeah. So that's like when you try to like when the editor actually try to update the content and then just like put that and then submit it, but it's not cleaned up enough. It's still a turkey.
Back to the deli place, they have a bunch of turkey and it's all ready for you. They got all the stuff. It's all ready to be put together, but they swapped it out. But I'm still getting roast beef.
Yeah.
I don't know how far this analogy goes, but
It's interesting. I never thought of it that way, but it makes sense. But maybe it makes sense because I understand what's going on underneath.
I bet I could do a beer one with kegs and a brewery, like swapping out. That would be a better one to do for us.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I can't think of it that quickly. But like, they switched taps in the back, all right? So that got really popular. So I can think of something like that for the future when we talk about
If you think of it, record it and I'll swap it out.
maybe.
Make sure
Yeah,
you wear the same shirt.
this was good enough.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So that's
so around like performance though, like we talked about, like when would you upgrade? So this is a thing it's hard because if you're not monitoring your site like for performance and know like the baseline and know what you've changed, there's upsell techniques. And there's people they'll like send emails to people like, oh, I noticed your site's slow, so you should do this. Or the hosting company will say, you're using a lot of things and we need to have you upgrade again this quarter, and then next quarter you need to upgrade again. But there weren't any changes
Mhm.
or any like page view or any changes like that. So if you're not monitoring all the things, you have no idea if people are telling you the truth or not. Because it may not be that you need to upgrade your server capacity. You might need to fix the bug, or nothing was wrong and everyone's lying to you.
Yeah. We run into this a lot, especially with the clients that are kind of borderline um enterprise, but they're big enough, but it's not like hitting to the next level that they need to upgrade. Some of the servers that kind of do like the a la carte type of thing. So before you upgrade, there are those in between lines that even if you don't upgrade, the amount of overage charges that get put on, it's not high enough and it's not frequent enough that they don't really need to upgrade to the next level because it doesn't happen all the time. It only happens sporadically or seasonally on certain time. So whatever they're paying for the overages is still cheaper than upgrading to the next level, which is a completely different level. Yeah, it's multiple conversations, especially with their clients, that when some hosting companies will reach out to them, I was like, oh, you should upgrade because of the overage this month. And we're like, well, we'll have a conversation with them. Well, but this was one time thing. If you look at the whole year, this is only happening in this month. And if you consider that overall, this is not needed. And then they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. Then you don't really need it. It's probably cheaper to keep it in that way and then just pay for the overages. So
Yep.
you want to constantly monitor what your site is at, your views are, and your traffic spikes are, or if it's seasonal, you're aware of it so that if you get those sales pitch that you know what to avoid. And if you really want to scale to the next level, when you should actually consider that. So knowing your traffic patterns is probably very important to know, especially in your business.
I just published a blog post today about that, but
Do
it's
it.
around seasonal. Those thing, like if you're seasonal, if you're doing an event and you know what's happening, then either you talk to your host about that and they do, a month type thing, or you pay for the overage, big deal, depending on their kind of their kind of pricing model. Because they all do different things. Some of them require you to sign up for a certain amount. Some do you do a charge after the fact. Depends on where you're hosting.
Yeah. And then yeah, I do have some parts of it on my talk too, because like you want to make sure that you can handle the spikes like that, but you want to be prepared, but you also want to understand so you're prepared for it. Not just for the hosting side, for um your site side too. It's like all the other things that you need to prepare for the traffic spikes. That's one of the things that you also want to look at. But it's kind of like outside of the hosting ability. Um and then, yeah, that kind of goes to auto scaling and load balancing as well. Because normally, if you're not big enough site, you probably don't even need like auto scaling. Probably you need, but load balancing you might not need it, depending on if you're targeting a specific local or if you're targeting like the entire world or whatever. Um, but the enterprise sites that we're usually want to handle probably want to look into that to make sure it's doing the proper scaling, auto scaling, and load balancing.
Right. I have a maybe spicy question for around auto scaling.
Yeah.
So I know what it is. I've
Mhm.
implemented it doing custom stuff for sure all the time. AWS is elastic, it'll grow and shrink. My kind of experience with more than just the hosting companies that we're gonna talk about, that they actually don't do it. Uh, and they actually don't even say they do it. People just assume at certain pricing levels that they would do it. And no one says, no, we don't do it. They just let it go. And this is over many years of watching them do things. Now they can scale, like we were talking about. Like if there's planned things, if like something does happen, they'll scale up and it'll fix it. But the idea of auto scaling, I haven't actually seen that truly occur, like and do it in the way that I would expect it to be done. Um, and I'm sure there's lots of financial reasons for this. Technically, it's very easy to do, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of curious too, because like I recently, this was a smaller site, so it was on the smaller scale managed hosting, and I saw the auto scaling there, and I recently had experience that they were talking about they had to auto scale because of the bot attacks, and we
Yeah,
turned out.
yeah.
But
That
what?
would be the downside if if someone actually did this and they
Mhm,
did it right, right?
mhm.
Your costs, especially with AI bots right now, the AI scrapers, like you're talking about 40 times the traffic right now on some of these sites. To crawl for some reason they're crawling every day too. I don't know. Something's going on. Why would we need to scrape sites that don't have news? But whatever. But yeah, so that fake traffic, not fake, but like non-human traffic would cause massive spikes in cost because they're not going to auto scale for free. They're going to auto scale with the agreement in the contract being some kind of bandwidth, some kind of requests per time or whatever that you're going to pay. And you agreed to pay that.
Right. But for this incident, what's interesting about it is that it said that you're gonna be auto scale to next level if it goes on for longer than whatever. So I looked at the actual,
Oh, I know what you mean.
yeah, I looked at the actual log of what bot attack was, but it was so small for a bot attack. It was maybe about 200 form submission and then another 200 form submission in a different page. In the bot world,
Yeah.
that's tiny.
Yeah. And you're talking about what I would say for the people not watching, in quotes, auto scale.
Right.
That means they're going to up you to the next plan
Yeah.
and allow you to take more resources. It's like that's auto scale. That's like auto scaling your plan or your like subscription to a higher level. Like that's not what I'm familiar with.
Right. So, uh,
'Cause auto scaling also means auto
agree? Yeah.
downsizing.
Yeah.
Should
Right. So that was kinda
not have.
interesting when they were using the term autoscaling kind of loosely in a way that for you can't even handle that much traffic. Like, what if that was real? Like the 400 submissions in one day, that can happen if it's like a crazy promotion going on. That's not autoscaling. It's like something that was already agreed upon. Anyway, so like when you said that weird autoscaling and then spicy
Mm,
question, kind of. So I don't know what if there's a truly legit auto scaling going on in other managed hosting, but let me find out. Let me know. I'm
uh,
curious to know. All right. Moving on to support and SLA.
yeah, I know. Well, the one I like to throw out there is that did you know that 99.9% uptime is so that's 0.1% downtime
Mhm,
potentially, right?
mhm.
It's 365 days in a year. Okay. So That's about a third of a day of
Okay.
down
Total.
in a year. Every year,
Yeah.
you get 99.9. That's because it sounds great. But a third of a day down. I mean, it's supposed to be spread out, but it's
Yeah.
because they can't guarantee perfect. Some do though, and then they just pay. They just pay when you're down, which is fine. But yeah, that's why but then you pay if you do 99.99,
Mm-hmm.
that's like almost no downtime. But then you have to pay a lot for that extra 9 because most will give you some kind of guaranteed 0.9%. That's almost a given that you should be able to get that. But if you're monitoring, the only way to know is if you're monitoring your site.
Yeah.
A
That's
third of a
actually
day spread out to 300 days is minutes a day. That's bad. Every minute, if you're doing 1 minute a day, it's the time that you want people to, buy something. They're out.
I have a thing to think about. I think I asked you about this a while ago when I was experiencing this. They promised 99.92% of uptime,
Okay.
but we started to monitor it. But beforehand, they were never monitoring it, so they never knew where their uptime is and what their actual SLA was. But I'm starting to track it when we started engagement with the site, and when we move it to the hosting that promised that 99.92%. It's kind of odd number. But when we were start tracking it, it's going down to it will go down like almost once a day, but not long enough, maybe like a minute a day. But it's always going down 1 minute a day. So when we're tracking it for I think over a month, the SLA became like 99.2%. So I went back to them. I was like, you guys promised this 99.9%, but we're getting this. Can you explain and why you guys are getting it? And then they tried to upsell the auto scaling and all that stuff. So I was like, okay, is this a sales tactic? It's like, does anyone really track closely on this managed hosting that if it's really truly 99.9% uptime? But they'll kind of give like a half-ass answer to me on why it's not. It's like they're starting to blame me the code. I was like, all that. So I was like, well, they will say that, but it's not always guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, and even a guarantee doesn't mean that it's literally going to be up that. It's that if it doesn't meet that guarantee, that they'll make it right. Things happen. These are software. This is web software. Let's be real. Not a lot of. I mean, cars drive themselves into telephone poles. You think websites don't do weird things too?
Yeah. I mean, but if it's for this case, I felt like it was weird because the site is very, very simple. It's not a complex site. There are weird things because they put a bunch of different plugins that is not necessarily helping. But at the same time, there's no reason for the site to go down randomly like that, sporadically, at exactly almost the same time in the middle of the night. But anyways, let's compare different major enterprise hosts because we do have a lot of experience with various managed hosting enterprise level, and we are partnered with a lot of these. So I wanted to touch base on their strength, and I don't know if you wanted to go to limitation too much because it depends on the site. It's not necessarily the hosting shortcomings a lot of times, but we can kind of compare what their strengths are so that it's easier for them. It's any people who are looking at it can decide on it. So, I mean, one of the biggest and well known is WordPress VIP. It's owned by WordPress.
Yeah.
Yeah, Automatic, who created WordPress.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. I mean, if you're not familiar with enterprise stuff, you're familiar with WordPress.com, which used to be their, I guess, name for their hosting as well. And then it was WordPress.com VIP. It's WordPress VIP. These are not in order. The order was actually developed by AI. So putting these two together is interesting, but WP Engine is next on the list. we'll talk about kind of some of the things that they or are benefits to them. Features, I guess, would be a better way to put it. You got Pantheon. Pantheon obviously does the two major open source PHP CMSs, both WordPress and Drupal. And that's one thing is cool for them, but we'll come back to other things. And then you got Kinsta, Nexus, Pressable. There are other ones that we're okay with, but we don't use them a lot. And mainly because we don't use them a lot, that we're not as familiar with them. So they wouldn't be on a list that we could use. It's that as a smaller team, we can only support so many that we would kind of build on. Now, if a client came to us on something else that was close, if it's similar, like we do DevOps similarly, then we can add that in. But that's where we get in trouble, and we have to start monitoring, like, well, how has this been doing over time? And if we don't know, then it's hard to recommend them, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, these are all hosting, like their infrastructure are like they're developed and built in a way that we like as developers. There are things that I would change about every single one of them. That's just because Meeky knows that's how I roll. So they have to do it a certain way. So
Yeah.
and to keep their costs down. Because then you start to get down to well, I could build it in AWS way better than them. Well, yes, you could, and I could too, right?
But you have
But then we're going to sit around every hour of every day supporting this thing, and every time there's an update, and no one has that kind of time.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the smaller size, the Kinsta, Nexus. Nexus is owned by Liquid Web, so people who are on Liquid Web, it's managed hosting for them, but it's our partner with them. So, and Pressable also. They have their own strength and downside that we experience because we have certain streamlined development workflow that kind of fits, and then there are certain things that we look at. Some has it, some don't. But we have certain preferences internally, but there are the options that you can go to as a managed hosting as a smaller business, um, before you are quite enterprise level yet.
Yeah, I mean, if I was going to list, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit, but only because it's in our list. But I agree with all these. Like the top one thing about each one that I would say is a potential good is that WordPress VIP. They've been dealing with media and entertainment publishers for a long time, editorial workflow. They give you really good support around the admin, like if your people request things. You got WP Engine. They've been pretty developer focused over the years, kind of really focused on WordPress itself, as far as like they know the plugin ecosystem. They know like the premium plugins on a wider scale than some of these other ones. A, they own some, but B, they've kind of spent the time to monitor and evaluate them. You know, Pantheon. I think the biggest thing for me is that they do both open source, like the big two WordPress Drupal platforms, and they know both really well. So maybe you're doing both, or just wanting someone that does PHP really well. Um, DevOps has always been their thing. That's why I've recommended them over the years. These others have caught up
Right.
a bit.
Yeah.
Um,
That's definitely their strong suit because like it was so developer friendly and DevOps friendly that it was so easy on there to do different things without headaches. But like we said, the other platforms kind of caught up, but they're kind of caught up to they're up to par. So it's good, but strong because Pantheon was it's their strong suit. It's still pretty strong on their DevOps features.
I mean, Pantheon and some, well, actually, I don't know that any of these others, like I can create a site because I already have an account with Pantheon. I create a site from command line, and I can do a site creation, migration, a copy. So I can do anything I need to from command line if I need to. So that means I can script it also very easily. Some of these other ones have some capability around that, but then it's a little bit of mix back and forth, or some require you to put tickets in to create certain things. So that's a big thing for me. Not that I do that a lot, but sometimes it's just the ability to spin up something with a copy and paste because I don't really type anything anymore on a command line. And then the so those three are really in order. Kinsta is probably somewhere in the middle of there too. We got Pressable somewhere in the middle of there too. Nexus is somewhere in there. Not top of my list, that's for sure, that one. But any of these other ones, depending on scale and pricing,
Yeah.
I think also we talked about all the things above in our list, all the other features around support and uptime and performance. These are all going to be pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like if you pay for more, you're going to get more. So it really depends on what that contract looks like. Like if those numbers come in and they're selling one thing, it's maybe there's another option for you.
Yeah. Like coming from just so familiar with all this enterprise level managed hosting, like VIP, VIP, WP Engine, and Pantheon, when we were getting exposed to Kinsta and Percival and even Nexus, there I was surprised on some of the features that they have, and I was very disappointed in some of the features they don't have.
Yeah.
So it's but they're pretty good. But I would definitely use certain ones over the other ones. But but they are a good there. It's decent enough before you get into the whole enterprise level hosting, because the price gap goes like jump up like crazy. So if you don't need it, you don't need it yet.
Yeah, you start to go through like, oh, this has everything, and then it's like, wait, my option for backup is everything. Like to download a backup, it's like,
Mhm.
no, I can't do that on a daily or weekly basis for some
Yeah.
clients. Like I need to download the database sometimes, or maybe I need access to a backup to see like a date period of something,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Like, or I need to deploy that backup to an environment. So those are kind of some things, and not all of them have those capabilities.
Yeah. And how easy it is to deploy the updates. Is the CI/CD already streamlined for your process, or do I need to set it up manually? That kind of stuff. Um, but yeah, and how can you preview your changes easily enough or not? So those are the things that you can look at. But it's I was yeah, to be honest, like I was pleasantly surprised on some of these, and I was very very disappointed in some of these. So but
I love AI's notes to us on some of these things. I mean, obviously we know our thing, but we have AI giving us some tips. Like I'm going to read this, and then you'll understand why you can't just do research with AI. So, quick pros and cons. Think of them like craft cocktails. VIP is your old fashioned. WP Engine is the Mezcal Margarita. I don't know if that's because they're party years. I don't know. And Pantheon is the Negroni with a DevOps twist. What does that have to do with anything?
I
Like,
don't know. It's because our we're boozy browsing, so we're supposed to be big on hot
right.
sales.
Yeah, but like I feel like the old fashioned is that because
The
they're not the
OG,
original.
but
Like
not
I
yeah.
guess WordPress.com and .com VIP, maybe you can get that.
They're
But
OG of WordPress, not OG of the Met hosting. Yeah.
yeah, anyways.
Some of the mistakes to avoid when scaling. I'm just gonna read it out. Picking a hosting just on pricing. Yeah, that's a pretty big thing because you want to compare the features because they're competitive. So
I,
you can
I like I like the last one on our notes that you set it and forget it, because I think that's one thing people 3 or 4 years down the road would be like, wait, why did I get like to this? Why am I paying this much when I used to be paying that much? And then you start to look around. It's like, whoa, I could be paying a quarter of the
yeah
price.
yeah, not planning the peak traffic event like we kind of mentioned that before. Skipping staging QA processes. Yeah, I mean if you don't have ability to do it, forgetting
I
about
mean, some of these force it.
yeah
They did. And some of them are like, yeah, we have it. You can use it if you want.
right.
You
That's
know,
kind of dangerous. Forgetting about compliance security audits. Yeah, that's true. Anyways,
so
There
So
you
this
go.
summer we haven't had a lot of guests. I think that's one thing we got to promote more. We got a forum on the site on Boozy Browsing. Submit your site. That's really to get, if you want to join, if you want to submit your site just to review, but we'd love to have guests, especially if we know you. That's an easy one. But if we kind of know about you or you know us, I'd love to have you on. I don't, someone asked me like, oh, but you guys are super technical. It's like, yeah, so that's why we want people that are not technical. Like I want to talk about the editorial side of things, especially on the web and how it's grown or shrank or whatever.
Yeah. So
Maybe and point of view.
I kind of promote it as, especially in my talk, like I was gonna promote it as like it's a digital happy hour where we talk about all this technology. It doesn't have to be too technical, and we occasionally audit your sites if you want to, but that's what we do. But yeah, we actually have talked about a lot of different technologies, or even like strategies, or what you should do as a company, as a tech lead, and all these things. So like this is more than just being a technical side.
Yeah. So the only other thing is if you've gotten this far, send us a comment, put a comment in wherever we've shared this, whether it's YouTube or maybe LinkedIn if we put some shorts on there. Tell us about some horror stories. Even if it's about our partners, I don't care. I mean, they all have, hopefully they failed and then they were able to redeem themselves. That's more typical from what we see, because they can't all be perfect all the time. But
Right. Right.
if they totally failed you and you just want to rant,
Go
I don't know,
for it.
have a drink first and then maybe think about your comment and then decide if you want to do it.
Have a drink first and think about the comment.
Yeah,
That's like
maybe it's the
the
opposite
worst
of that. Think
combination.
about it first, and then if you did it, then have a drink about it.
All right. Anyways,
All
oh
right.
yeah. So send us a comment and then just can you guys and we were kind of prematurely promoting this, but we are planning to do a live event, so we'll post out the details around it when it will be. But it's coming up soon in September. We'll share that with you guys.
All right.
Well then, till next time.
Stay tuned for the next episode on Monday afternoon.